the situation with human trafficking is I've explained to some of these former traffickers that they may not be able to help the victims that they've exploited in the past, but by talking to me and sharing with me what actually is going on in terms of human trafficking and human trafficking rings and the cartels leading to the southwest border, that I could take that information and I can provide it to the stakeholders that can make impactful change. That led me to testifying before Congress on November 14th of 2023 about the current trends in human trafficking at the southwest border. One of the things that I found out from working in Central America that I found very interesting is the smuggling groups that are being brought to the United States. When a migrant group is being brought, there are coyotes embedded within the migrant groups, and their entire role is for intelligence purposes. They're there to determine who in the migrant groups does not have the money for unexpected expenses and delays. For example, there may be additional bribes, there may be delays because of weather, and some migrants that don't have the money to pay for the additional expenses associated with the smuggling trip to the United States border are then sold to human traffickers. Human traffickers work very closely in conjunction with the actual smuggling rings. Currently, the cost is $4,000 to $6,000 if somebody is sold from the smuggling ring to the trafficking ring. When that occurs, if they're females, they'll be brought to the border and forced into sex trafficking. If they're males, they're typically forced into drug packaging. When they get to the United States border, there are stash houses. There's thousands of stash houses along the southwest border, both on the Mexican and the U.S. side. And what I've learned from my work in Central America and speaking to former human traffickers is that within these stash houses, they work in a group of three. The first house acts as a processing center. That's where the traffickers will photograph, they'll create a portfolio on the victims, they'll identify the amount of expenses that that person owes in order to pay for the remainder of their travel to the southwest border. From there, they're taken to the second house. The second house is where the actual exploitation occurs. Again, for females, it's likely to be sex trafficking. For males, it's likely to be packaging fentanyl or other drugs. Once they stay at the second house until their debt's paid, once that's done, they're taken to the third house. At the third house, they're given back their property, and they're actually treated very well. They're given a bus ticket or a plane ticket to their final destination, and it's all part of the coercion process, because by being treated well at the third house, they're less likely to go and to turn in the gangs and cartels that are affiliated with their exploitation. So those are some of the things that I've learned, working the last 5 years in Central America. I've also done work in South America with Interpol in Bogota, Colombia, and I've also learned about the human trafficking trends leading from Venezuela and South America through the Darien Gap into Central America, ultimately leading to the southwest border.
Awesome. Yesterday you talked a little bit about how you feel like our immigration policy incentivizes illegal immigration.
So one of the things that I've heard repeatedly from both migrants as well as from former human traffickers is that the current immigration policy is looked at as an open border, an open opportunity, an open invitation to come to the United States. So one of the things that I've learned is on the Mexican side that Mexican border officials right now are pushing people through, knowing that children are with adults that aren't actually their parents, knowing that these children are likely exposed to exploitation, yet they are being pushed toward the southwest border in an attempt to get them across the border in case things close.
And do you feel like that increases the risk of trafficking?
It absolutely exponentially increases the risk of trafficking. Right now, the system is set up to detect drugs at the southwest border and leading up to the southwest border. However, their cartels have realized that it is extremely profitable to get into human trafficking and human smuggling. So therefore, a lot of them are pivoting. Though there's still a lot of drugs coming through the southwest border, there is a ton more people that are coming here for exploitation purposes than in the past.